Hi, everybody. Welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Leah, and on this episode, I'm giving you a quick shot of romance, but author spotlight edition. And on this author spotlight, I am joined by Mallory Marlowe. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, I'm very excited to be here.
Mallory Marlowe is an author and video game writer living in Los Angeles, California. Seriously, right-brained since childhood, her love of telling stories began with highly elaborate plots for her Barbie dolls and taking elementary school writing projects too seriously. She studied writing for film and TV at Emerson College, and when she isn't writing, she's likely reading Stuck in LA Traffic or has fallen down a weird internet rabbit hole. I mean, that sounds about usual for everybody.
Yeah.
Not so much the LA traffic, but
Yeah, I wouldn't wish that on everybody, that is for sure.
well, welcome. So
Thank
let's go
you.
ahead and dive right in. So
Yeah.
what drew you to publish your first romance book?
Yeah, so I've been writing like my whole life.
Hmm.
And I started writing books back in like middle school and high school, and they were not very good.
Yeah.
But I was doing it for me because I loved it. And I grew up like, as a teenager during that big YA boom of like the 2007 to like
Hmm.
2015, where everything had a romance subplot in it.
Yeah.
And so it just got like ingrained in me really young that
Hmm.
like every book is gonna have some kind of romance in
Yeah.
it. And so as I, went to college and started working, I just had less and less time. But then when the pandemic happened, I was suddenly not sitting in LA traffic for 4 hours a day. So I was like, let me go back to this thing that I have always wanted to do, that has always been this really deep passion of mine. And I started writing romance again, and
Hmm.
discovered, that there's this whole adult contemporary romance space that I could write in, and that, there are characters who are just like me. And so I wrote my debut novel, Love and Other Conspiracies, and that came out last year. And now I am just ready to put kissing in whatever I possibly can, whatever books I can.
So your series, like it
Mhm.
deals in conspiracy theories
Yeah.
essentially, because book one, it was Bigfoot, and book
Yeah.
two, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, is all about
Yeah.
UFOs. What drew you to that subject matter?
Yeah, I've always just loved like the paranormal and the otherworldly. That I grew up, going to ghost tours like in every,
Okay.
city that we went to, and watching all of the spooky shows on TV. And I just have always loved it. And so I love infusing something as like human as romance and falling in love with these things that are not very human, or something we can't
Not
really
necessarily
explain. Yeah,
romantic.
exactly. Also, yeah, also not very romantic. Like hunting Bigfoot and, cryptids is not exactly your first date idea for most people, I would think.
Although,
I seem to work for them, but
yeah, my husband, he's a big fan of like the Bigfoot
yeah.
shows, and we watch, I mean, not as much now. He watches a
Yeah.
lot of weird stuff now, but
Yeah.
he was like, we watched a lot of like the ghost hunter shows and
Oh
things like
yeah.
that. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, and it
It's
was
really fun.
entertaining. I will give you
Yeah.
that. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's always been a fan. Like we actually have like a cutout of a Bigfoot that a guy made, like a steel cutout of Bigfoot, like just hanging out at our house
That is
because a
so
guy at
much
work made
fun.
it and he was like, I brought it home. I'm like, okay
I
then.
love that.
So, how, as a writer, do you balance the development of the romantic relationship with the other elements of the story?
Yeah, I mean, that's a challenge every time, because I think like I write pretty plot heavy books. Like I
Hmm.
really love a good external plot. And especially Love at First Sighting has a really, big external plot. I try to tie them as close as I can. I try to infuse those plot beats and moments um with character building moments. So I'm like,
Hmm.
how can they grow closer while they're doing X, Y, and Z? How can they fall for each other while they are, investigating a creepy underground archive, which is a thing that happens in Love at First Sighting. Like, what brings them closer together,
Hmm.
so that they don't have to happen separate from one another? It's not
Right.
like you have plot moments and then romance moments. It's like, how do you fuse them together? And one of the other things that I love, especially about paranormal, is I love using the otherworldly and the paranormal as like a metaphor
Mm-hmm.
for the character's wounds in a way. And so for Hallie in Love and Other Conspiracies, a big thing is that she doesn't really believe in herself, and she also doesn't believe in cryptids or conspiracy theories either. And
Mm-hmm.
so, throughout this course of falling in love with Hayden, she's rediscovering her, confidence in herself, but also being like, I don't know, do I believe in ghosts? Do I believe in aliens? I don't know. Maybe there's room for change there as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any writing rituals or habits that help you stay focused?
I don't. I have ADHD, and so getting me to focus can be really hard sometimes. But I do really try to carve out time where I'm like, this is your writing time. I use
Mm-hmm.
weekends and, evenings. Um it usually involves like sitting down at my laptop. I will often put on like an ambient video, so it'll be like, cozy witch cabin, ambient video. And it's just like little birds chirping and, something that's very calming. Or if I can find something that really fits the scene that I'm writing, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of force myself to get to work. I do a lot of writing sprints because they really hold me accountable, being like, here, 20
Yeah.
minutes, you do not do anything else.
Yeah. Do you, because I know there are some authors who like they'll get an idea, they'll write in their
Yeah.
phone and they write like most of their book on their phone or in their notes section, or they'll like have random post-it notes
Yeah.
everywhere. Are you one of those people, or do you just kind of like, do you need to have the laptop in front of you for you to like recognize this is time for me to write?
For me, yeah, usually I have to have the laptop. I'm not a very fast typer on my phone, so I feel like if I did that, it would just take me like years
Uh-huh.
to write a book. But I jot down notes, like if I'm, driving or I'm out running errands and something comes up and I'm like, oh wait, I have to remember that. I'll put
Mm-hmm.
it in a notes app. Um, but I'll also sometimes like in early stages, or if I'm like doing something that requires me to be a little bit more visual about my plotting, I'll just like write it down by hand on a notebook page. But usually when it comes to like actually drafting the words, I've got to have my laptop.
Yeah. Now, for your books themselves, do you
Yeah.
plan out an outline, or are you a pantser and just kind of let the words and the characters flow? Because
I,
I've
I
talked to ADHD authors and like
yeah,
there's both sides of
I
it.
know. Yeah, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle because I do
Okay.
try to plan pretty well. And it always helps me to know where I'm going. However, I sometimes get so excited about the idea that I just kind of jump in and start writing before I figured everything out. And then I'm like,
Hmm.
that'll be a later me problem. So I try to be really organized and think things through ahead of time, but sometimes just, the itch to create gets me.
Yeah. Now, are you a reader as well?
Oh yeah, huge
And
reader.
what subgenre do you read the most?
I mean, I read mostly romance, but I do love, branching out into fantasy and into horror,
Hmm.
sci-fi here and there. I'm pretty open as long as the blurb catches my attention. But I love paranormal romance, obviously.
Hmm.
It's what I write in. But pretty much everything I read has a romance slant to it.
Now, do you have like a bucket list, like romance that you would like to write, like a romance? Because a lot of authors are
Oh,
like branching into the romanticy world. They've
yeah,
always wrote
yeah.
contemporary. Some like are contemporary and want to do historical, or historicals are hitting the contemporary
Yeah.
world. They're like, I have this opportunity, I'm gonna take it. Is there any
Oh
like? I
man.
mean, you're a newer author,
Yeah.
so you haven't been like immersed in that world super
Yeah.
long, but
Yeah. I mean, I really love challenging myself and branching
hmm.
out and doing something I haven't done before. And so I would love to write in whatever genre the ideas come to me. And
Uh-huh.
so I definitely have, ideas that are much more horror or much more romantasy, things that, kind of go a little bit further than the, light spooky that I would say my rom-coms are doing right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would love to write like a really cool romantasy, like something with hot people and swords, maybe some scary monsters. Yeah, like I could see
Swords
a
and
dark
scary monsters.
romantasy being something I have a really, really fun time with.
Hmm. Yeah. I like romantasy, it's hit or miss for me. It's
Yeah.
not my go-to like subgenre, but
Yeah.
I have read a couple where I'm like, I can see why people really immerse
Oh
themselves in
yeah.
these.
Oh yeah.
But I also read this horror romance. I was
Hmm.
doing a quote pool for an author, and I was like, I don't know about this, but it was really intriguing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can see why people like this, but it's just there was so much going on and like thought that when not
Yeah.
that thought doesn't go into any book, but there was just the way the plot worked out and like there's a lot of like nuance in this that I was
Yes.
not expecting.
Yeah, horror is fascinating. I think because it is one of those genres that is usually saying something pretty profound about
Hmm.
people or about society. And so I think that's kind of interesting when you meld it with romance. And when you kind of look at it, a lot of the beats are sort of similar,
Hmm.
which is really fun. So I would also love to write a horror romance. That is something that I would love to do. Because I also grew up as, a huge fan of horror movies and I love being scared. So I think I mean, when your adrenaline is high, you're gonna be more inclined to fall in love with somebody.
Yeah, this is true.
That's why they make them go skydiving and stuff on like The Bachelor, because you're gonna fall in love with somebody when you're like, it's this
Free
whole
falling and hoping
yeah,
you
it's a whole
don't.
scientific thing that I did not realize, but I was like, oh, that's fascinating.
That is
But they
pretty
do make them
interesting.
do that all the time.
Hmm. So, do you, as either a reader or a writer, have a favorite trope?
Oh gosh, I love like hurt comfort or like sick comfort, like
Hmm.
any kind of caretaking. Just it undoes me.
Yeah.
I think it's really sweet. But I also love second chance romance. There's something so the yearning is unmatched, and I love yearning.
I mean, if it's done right, a second chance can be
Yeah.
really dynamic.
I know it can be tough. There is always that argument of like, well, why didn't it work out the first time? But,
Hmm.
for some people, it is very much so right person, wrong time,
Hmm.
or they were
Yeah.
just not in the right place and they are now. So, yeah, I think it leads to some really interesting character dynamics as well and exploration of what these characters' wounds are.
Hmm. So let's talk Love at First Sighting. So it
Yeah.
came out August 12th, 2025.
Yeah.
It is in the rom-com and paranormal world.
Hmm.
So it is about influencer
Yeah.
Ariel L. Martin
Hmm.
and special agent Carter Brody. He
Yeah.
is part of the private intelligence sector, aka
Hmm.
PISS,
AKA Piss.
which I thought that was funny because honestly, when I read it the first time, I was like, that's where my head went. And then when she's like, so
Yes.
you work for PISS? He's like, no, it's PIS. And she's like,
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Yeah, no, when I first brought that to my editor, she was like, "You do realize that that's what that spells out?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
You're like, I did that on
It,
purpose.
I'm
There's
like,
a
"Yes, it
reason for
was it was
this.
a silly joke. I think it's funny because I apparently have the humor of like a 5-year-old."
It's okay. I mean, sometimes potty humor is the best,
Yeah,
especially when
it's
it's like subtle potty humor.
yeah, and you also like that, if you've worked in like corporate America in any way, you know that they
Oh,
take things like that very, very seriously. And it's like
well,
you do realize that sounds silly, right?
and sometimes like it is unintentionally bad,
Yeah.
and they're like, why did you do that? And they didn't
Yes.
even realize it,
No.
which I think is even funnier when it's like an accidental,
Yeah.
like funny one.
And they're like, this sounds so cool, but it's like, does it?
Yeah, initials are important,
Yes.
people. Initials are important. So let's talk Elle and Carter. So
Yeah.
Carter is he's kind of the guy who is very capable but doesn't
Mhm.
think that he's capable because the
Yeah.
people around him tell him he's incapable of doing
Yeah.
things, but he's actually a lot more like ahead of the game than he realizes.
Yeah, totally. No, he thinks he's really worthless, but he actually has a lot of uses. And like the word that I think like Elle uses to describe him most often is like he's effective. Like he does
Yes.
get things done, despite the fact that he seems kind of like a himbo, but he knows what he's doing. He just, has kind of been belittled for so long that
Hmm.
it's gotten in his head.
Well, because there's something that happens in the book, and I'm not going to spoil any of
Yeah.
it. And he's like, maybe my firearm tests were not as bad as
Yeah.
I was told they were. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, buddy, like I
Oh,
just want to
bud.
hug you
I
right
know.
now.
He's a sweet little sad boy. I do love him. He's such a special character to me.
He's such a nice guy too.
Yeah.
Like like when he first meets Al, like he stalks her. but it's okay because he's
Yeah.
doing it in the name of the law. And
Yeah,
so
it's his
like,
job.
but he is instantly attracted to her, but he
Yeah.
just wants to really take care of her
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, he wants her to see herself the way that I think he sees her, which is like
Hmm.
so smart, so savvy, beautiful,
Hmm.
not just because she, wears a lot of makeup and dresses well. It's like he just thinks that she's like so naturally gorgeous and he really does appreciate her for what she is. Like I think when a lot of people might be dismissive of her being an influencer,
Hmm.
he's kind of like, no, that takes a lot of, it takes a lot of smarts to do that. And, you are a business person. Like,
Well,
it isn't easy.
and that's one thing that she talks about, like how it's all an act, like everything is
Yeah.
an act. And she says it from like page one. So I'm not
Yeah.
spoiling anything there.
Yeah.
But it's like she shows you the perfection.
Hmm.
She has to really be aware of how she's going into public, doing anything.
Yeah.
But he really sees past like that mask of hers and
Hmm.
recognizes like, and she calls it her beige life or beige something. Like I don't remember how she worded it in the book, but like he never saw her as beige. Like he saw her as
Yeah.
all the colors that she was constantly like wearing and talking about, and like she
Yeah.
was full of color, but she never saw her that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Like she kind of caters to a very certain aesthetic. I
Hmm.
think the phrase she actually uses is like beige bitch world.
It
Um,
might have been that. I couldn't remember the
yeah, like
phrasing.
she also is like, I have to post things that coordinate with this color, so it looks good on the grid. And
Hmm.
it all has to look good, but he's kind of like, it doesn't have to look like that. It can be, whatever you want. Your life can
Hmm.
look exact however you want it to be, but
Yeah.
he also is somebody who's like struggling to have that for himself as well. So I really like that they get to find that genuine happiness with
Hmm.
each other.
Well, and I like the parallel to the fact that that is actually how a lot of people live their lives now. Like
Yeah.
they live their lives like as a social media like force. And it's like
Yeah.
that, like what you see is not how life really is. And like seeing
Yeah.
that other side to Elle, like it really shows you like you're only seeing what people want you to see.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's super true. And I think that that's like how a lot of things are, even if you're like not famous, like, you're
Hmm.
not posting like, here's how bad my day was, or
Yeah.
here's, I hate my job and it sucks. I mean, some
Yeah.
people are, but you're posting a lot of wins and you're posting these picture perfect sides of your life.
Yeah.
And that aren't necessarily the full picture. And, I
Hmm.
think then we all get in our heads being like, well, everybody is doing better than I am.
Yeah.
But it's only because they're, putting out what they choose to put out. So it kind of was like, oh, yeah, not everybody is perfect behind the camera and behind all the filters.
Hmm. So when like Carter meets Elle because she is being chased by this UFO and she
Mhm.
does a live stream of it and
Yeah.
chaos has consumed her life essentially.
Yeah.
But as we meet him and get to know him more, like his mom passed away when he was
Hmm.
young and then his dad raised him until he was killed.
Hmm.
And then but there's like this mystery, like
Yeah.
caper side to everything too. Like
Yeah.
they're trying to figure out like what this UFO is, but then Carter also wants to know like what really happened with his dad. And so like we get all these different layers of like mystery and
Yeah.
intrigue as the book progresses.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, super fun, but also very challenging to write
Okay.
because I'd never really written like a mystery before.
Hmm.
And I was afraid I couldn't do it. But I wanted to try, and I felt like this was kind of the perfect story to do it with. And I deliberately wanted to keep the mystery small. Like I didn't
Hmm.
want it to be this like huge, government conspiracy where we take down,
Right.
the CIA or anything. That is not
Well,
it.
I mean, he works in a
Yeah.
really small like group too, so it
Yeah,
kind of worked out.
exactly. They're a little dinky, and not very with the times.
Yeah, they're definitely like the minor, not even really the minor leagues. They're
Yeah,
like double A.
they're like the intramural league. Yeah, they're not really yeah, they don't even like upgrade their computers. It's really
Well,
sad.
I thought it was so funny when he was talking about the cameras, like in the
Yeah.
office. He's like, "Yeah, it's just a modified Ring doorbell system."
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's not fancy whatsoever.
And he's like, "It's okay. I fix the Keurig 3 times a week." Don't you
Yeah.
worry, I got this.
Yeah, he's like covered in ink because he's the one fixing the printer and oh,
He's like a little jack of all trades, but
yeah, he
he's so
is.
capable at the same time.
Yeah, he is, I mean, he's also like the resident like Gen Z kid in the office and they're like, "Can you please help with this? We don't know what we're doing." It's like
Well, but then he has Toby, his little
his
like
intern,
minion that
yeah, yeah.
he's teaching the ways.
Yeah, who he's not off to a great start either.
Toby seems like he's a special person.
Yeah, Toby might have lied on his resume.
I
I
mean,
think.
a little bit. I mean,
I've,
he does have an in. There's a little Nepo
he
baby
Oh
working there.
yes.
But their connection, it makes sense and it works really well. And it's like there's a slow burn to it, but it's not
Mhm.
that like their relationship isn't progressing. Like they're
Yeah.
learning so much about each other. And it's one of those things where like they don't open up really to anybody. They neither
Hmm.
one of them really have anybody. Like
Yeah.
Elle, like she has her mom, but her mom only wants her when she can give her money. And
Yeah.
Carter, like he has Marcus, but Marcus is kind of checked out and only
Yeah.
like I mean, he took him in when he needed to, but then there's
Yeah.
not like a real true relationship there. So they're
Yeah.
both kind of loners. And
Yes.
then they find each other. And it's like there's this whole new dynamic for them to adjust to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like my favorite part is just when lonely people get to find each other. I think there's
Hmm.
something really special about that, and these two really need it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's one of those things too. They recognized they were lonely, but they didn't recognize like how truly lonely they were
Yeah.
until like they started like their relationship
Yeah.
and moving forward with everything. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, my life is really small.
Yeah, it's like this is what it could be. Like, wow, I didn't know that the potential to be this happy existed.
Hmm.
Which is sad, but I'm happy for them now.
But it's so realistic at the same time. Like there's so
Yeah.
many people who are living lives like that.
Yeah, and you just don't even realize like how insufficient things feel sometimes. And then
That's a
when you're
really good way to
given,
put it.
yeah, and then when you're given this like really beautiful opportunity,
Hmm.
it just kind of feel like I like what you were saying about color before. It's like it fills your life with color, and I think that
Hmm.
that's very much so how these two work and fall in love.
Mm. Yeah. Well, and they're just so much more
Yeah.
than either one of them are able to recognize.
Yeah.
And had it not been for like the other person, they never
Mhm.
would have recognized that.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's next for you?
So I have a third book in the pipeline. It is
Okay.
called Entities to Lovers, and it is slated to come out sometime next fall. And that is another rom-com in the paranormal space.
Hmm.
Um, but this one is like actually paranormal. We are actually going to deal with ghosts and
Ooh.
mediums. And
Okay.
the elevator pitch for that is two rival ghost tour guides end up getting cursed by a matchmaking ghost and they can never leave each other's sides or things go wrong. And so it is their quest to break this curse and figure out how they can like get away from each other because they are very firmly believing they don't like each other, but we all know how that's going to go.
I I'm intrigued by that. So
Yeah.
they're cursed ghost
Yes.
hunters.
Yeah. Ghost tour guides. So they are
Ghost
like
tour
giving like
guide.
a
Oh, like New
trolley.
Orleans like ghost
Yes.
tours or like
Yeah. So
like
they
in
are,
Boston they have those too.
yeah, and it is set in Boston. So it is like they are on the trolley, they're dressed as ghosts and, Victorian dead people, and they are telling everybody all about these haunted places, and that's their
Now, have
job.
you personally went on one of these Boston ghost
Many.
tours?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you're like, if I was on one of these,
Yeah, I was
if
like,
it's
what
happened to
if?
me type of thing.
Yeah, totally. Because I went to school in Boston, and we would do that kind of thing like at Halloween, and
Hmm.
they do a very similar setup where they are like all dressed in the fun costumes and makeup, and it's always just such a blast. Like I will try to go to a ghost tour in every like haunted city that I go to because
Hmm.
they're great.
I don't know if I could do that. I don't really like scary
They
things
tend
though.
to not be super scary. They're more fun because I mean they also cater to kids, so like they're
Oh,
not
well, that's a
trying
little
to.
bit different then.
Yeah, like you can go on them at any age, but like they're not like terrifying you. They're mostly silly actually, but it's really
Hmm.
cool. You learn interesting history, even like even things that maybe are not as haunted, but it's like this was a
I
creepy
would
thing.
like the history aspect too.
Yeah, and I think especially in a place like Boston, New Orleans, I would love to go
Where
there
there's a
and take
lot
a
of deep,
yeah.
rich history. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like spooky history or like things that are just a little bit off. Like I love kind of the weird corners of history that we don't
Mhm.
really talk about as often. And yeah.
My oldest, he likes history, but he thinks ghosts are cool too. So he's like, we're going to Gettysburg. We're gonna
Oh,
go.
that'll be
He and my husband
awesome.
went a couple years ago, and he wants to go back. And so
Yeah.
we're pit stopping there before we and head to our final destination. But
Yeah.
yeah, so he's excited about that. But my husband's like, let's go on one of the ghost tours, and the kids are like, no, thank you. I'm like,
I mean,
I don't want
that's
to
a
do that
good
either.
place to go on a ghost tour. It
It
is
is,
really spooky
yes.
there.
It definitely is. But I'm like, yeah, maybe not yet.
Yeah.
We're not quite ready for that step yet. Well, thank you, Mallory, so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on and chatting and talking love at first sighting. I really enjoyed the Carter and Elle dynamic, and
Thank you.
I hope that everybody else does as well.
Me too.
And until next time, happy reading, everybody.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.